another episode of The Final Play. I'm your host, Harrison. Welcoming back my co-host.
Hello. How are you, Mike? How are y'all?
All right, guys, we're going to jump into this really quickly. I want to go over some things last week with the Cowboy game, and we'll jump into, obviously, tonight's game. Man, oh man, that was ugly last week. But I do have reason to believe, on one hand, I can slightly believe that you see Dallas purposefully doing what they did, but also no. You know what I'm saying? Just no. And I'm gonna take on why you could have seen Dallas do it on purpose. I mean, Anger had that ball. Like he had that. That snap was in his hands. He had it. His eyes don't come up off of it. He had it. And then Turpin, he's only done that once this entire season. And all of a sudden, in a game where potentially, if the Niners lose, if the Eagles lose and Dallas wins, they're the 1 seed. And I just think that Dallas was obviously somebody on that sideline is monitoring the other 2 games. And somebody saying good, maybe, and no. And that entire time it was no. So that leads me to believe that Dallas could have potentially done that on purpose. But now, here's why I think not, and why I've been preaching on this show, and if you guys see me out in the real world for whatever reason, I preach this. Kellen Moore is the weakest link to this team. I get he can sit here, he can game plan. You know, game plan's fine and dandy, but if he ain't going to execute your game plan, Kellen Moore does have a history of when things start working, he goes away from it. And I'm getting kind of tired of seeing this trend. And this is why I think Washington shows why Kellen Moore is the weakest link to Dallas. And I'm going to start with who was targeted more in the receiving game. The guy that was targeted, anytime he gets targeted, by the way, we force the ball to him. 9 times out of 10, it goes in the opposite direction. Dalton Schultz was targeted 9 times to your wide receiver number 1. CeeDee Lamb was only targeted 7 times. You only work out 182 total yards of offense. That's awful. And we know, as Cowboy fans, we know that it's Zeke and Pollard. When they are established in a game, they open up the rest of the offense. It can be both of them. It can just be one of them. As long as one of our running backs is started and they're going good, the rest of the offense flourishes. And an issue I had was we averaged 3 play action plays, typically a drive. And you're telling me we only run 3 that entire game. Like, I don't see that. I mean,
there's a bunch of things wrong with what's going on. And Kellen Moore's job is to make the offense easy to execute and, scheming people open. You shouldn't have to force it to anybody. Like you try to force it to Schultz. He tries to force it to Noah Brown all the time. When you've got Lamb, Gallup, and Hilton now out there. Those guys shouldn't be getting that many targets anymore. Now, if you'd have told me last week that the starters didn't play at all and we lost, I wouldn't have really said anything. But you keep them out there the whole game. All right, you were going to lose. It wasn't like you were even close to winning the game. Yet you keep them out there. Like, pull them out. I mean, come on, who cares? But tonight, if it doesn't look good early, McCarthy needs to take over.
He does, and
right away.
And getting into tonight's game, I mean, guys, we got to look at a lot of things. Where we're coming from, which one thing that I do like is that we do have 2. I'm not going to say key pieces of our defense, but 2 role players on our defense that slightly, like they have chances to change your game. We get Jonathan Hankins back. We get Leighton Vander Esch back.
Right.
Vander Esch, I believe, he's been playing one of his best seasons since his rookie year.
And they can't run at all.
Well, they can't run, but here's the problem: Dallas can't stop the run.
Well,
so if Tampa Bay,
good, that's the good news because they can't run. That's where I'm coming from. They can't run. What we're putting out there tonight is more than enough to stop whatever run.
I hope so.
I think.
Because the minute Fournette or Rachaad White or Keyshawn Vaughn, if any one of those guys get their run game going, if you're Dallas, you could be in trouble. You could be in trouble. Just saying. But again, I think getting Vander Esch back, considering he's playing better, and getting Jonathan Hankins back, I think that helps out a lot. Now, Tampa Bay did activate Ryan Jensen, who I believe was a torn ACL in the preseason or during training camp. They activated him, and they're saying he could play. If he does play, Dallas, you attack him. He is not. There's one thing to be like, okay, yeah, I like I'm healthy, like you guys can activate me, but you being game time, like conditioned and everything else, I don't think you're gonna pull that off this week. So if Tampa Bay plays him, there's a really big if you're Dallas, you're going after him. You're sending Osa, you're sending Gallimore, you're sending Hankins, you're sending everybody in your power to just disrupt blow him up.
They also have to move Parsons around. They can't just line him up on the edge
every single play.
And then all they got to do is either run away from him or put two people on him, and you basically remove Parsons out of your game plan if you keep lining him up the same. He's not Lawrence Taylor yet to where he will just, bull rush everybody in the world. He's not to there yet, but need to move him around a lot more. Obviously, if we can't get to Brady, it's gonna be a little bit harder game. But I still think Dallas has enough talent to overcome, the Buccaneers right now. But we've seen Dallas lose to teams they shouldn't be losing to. So
no, should not have lost to Jacksonville. Shouldn't have lost to Green Bay.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't do anything about going to Philly when Cooper Rush is your quarterback. But I just don't think you. And then obviously losing to Washington into the season, you don't lose those 3 games.
Right.
But
anyway,
I just want to know from you, like, who do you think, one player on offense and on defense, who are your key? If you could zero in on one person, obviously outside of Prescott and outside of Micah, who do you have,
well,
really being the key factors
I
on both sides of the ball?
I do think Hilton needs to be heavily involved tonight.
I think he does too.
Has to, and he has to. He'll just open up everything else for everybody else. But if they have to stop feeding it to Noah Brown, who has a hard time catching balls, and to Schultz, who really can't do anything with it after he catches it. He's pretty much tackled immediately. He doesn't get away from anybody.
So I agree with you with Hilton. I would like to see now to the Noah Brown thing. Ever since the Jacksonville game, he has not been the same. He was not the first 8-week receiver that we had after Jacksonville. He had that, overtime. He had to catch that ball, and it coughed right into that DB's hands, and they took it to the house for the win. He has not been the same since then. You go out and sign T.Y. Hilton. Then you announce 2 weeks ago, T.Y. is officially good for a full workload. That's fine and dandy. Why is he not getting it? And this is the thing, is they've been over-promising and over-promising. We're supposed to see Kevontae Turpin get offensive snaps, and we haven't seen any of it.
Well, he's having a hard time handling punts.
Oh, that's 2. That's 2, by the way.
But, on any other team, these players would have been benched. They wouldn't have been allowed to go back out there, especially Noah Brown drops a lot of passes. That one cost the Jacksonville game. Bill Belichick, let's just say, you have that many in a season, he will bench those. He will put them in the doghouse. Well, now, I'm not saying that's – I'm just saying how other teams run. But
here's my thing, though, is I think now Noah Brown is officially wide receiver 4. T.Y. Hilton's wide receiver 3.
Borderline 2.
Quite frankly, no. I think you could say he's wide receiver number 2 because Gallup isn't doing anything impressive. He needs to step up.
Yeah, Gallup can't separate.
Defense, though, defensively, I think it's going to be our leading tackler. I think it's going to be. I think Donovan Wilson will be a key factor in tonight's game.
Mm-hmm. I hope he is, and we need. If they let Xavier Rhodes out there tonight, he could make a difference. He could make a difference.
He could.
If they get him out there.
Now, on the flip side, we're looking at Tampa Bay right now, guys, and Dallas is doing a lot of things. This is the first. Dallas is looking to win their first road playoff game since '92. Mm-hmm. Been a minute. Mm-hmm. Dallas has never won a playoff game wearing the Navy jerseys. Mm-hmm. At strike 2, strike 3 is Brady is 7-0 against Dallas. Mm-hmm. And throughout his entire career, he's 7-0. So I think now is like a good time. If it travels in threes, it travels in threes. But again, back to what you were saying, I think it's going to be one of those things of. I think Dallas does have the more talented overall roster. Mm-hmm. But what I think is going to come down to is who can out-coach who.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles ain't exactly a world beater, a coach either. So let's not forget about that. I see Dallas. If they can control the ball, not turn it over, run effectively, and like I say, if we have their key players contribute like they normally would, we should win rather easily.
Well, I can tell you right now, if you're Dallas and you're going into this game, I think your first defensive scheme up for Brady and company, their first play from the line of scrimmage, I can tell you right now, is going to be a screen to Chris Godwin. I'm sorry. I need to see Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs doing an Irish jig with that ball all the way to the house.
This is what we need tonight. We need – see, this game is like a buildup of a Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks fight back in the early 90s. All this hype, all this money paid to see it. Mm-hmm. And in 91 seconds into the match, it was over because Mike Tyson knocked out Spinks. Mm-hmm. If we can get started early, and I'm not saying, we need to, if we knocked out Brady somehow with a sack.
Well,
knocked him out of the game.
Well, early. You're asking a lot, my friend.
Well, you only need one good shot.
You're asking a lot.
You only need one good shot on him because he's a house of cards.
I mean, he is, so. and remember, Parsons did have 2 sacks in week 1. So I think, again, it's going to be about Dallas getting that pressure
and he's not getting away from anybody.
No, he can't escape a pocket. No. He knows when to get rid of the ball, but he also knows when, it's costly to either – he knows not to turn the ball over. That's what I'm getting at.
But
so he
Parsons
will take that
can strip sack him.
Parsons can.
And then we're scooping scoring or we're at least recovering it. That is a totally different game.
I need to see – I just want our front 7 to just dominate this game. Mm-hmm. If our front 7 dominates, I'm sorry, I feel safe with Malik Hooker, Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, maybe Xavier Rhodes. He's not prime Xavier Rhodes. No. But what I do want to end on is obviously the prediction for the game. What do you have this game at?
I have, if all goes, if Dallas shows up to play, mm-hmm. they should win 31-17 if they show up.
If Dallas shows up, 31-17.
With I'm not saying no turnovers, but they can't have pick sixes. They can't have back-to-back turnover possessions to where they're just handing them putting the defense in a bad spot, too many times. They can't really do that, but they play a clean game. They stick to their strengths. They should win rather easily.
So after looking at all the games that we had this weekend, San Francisco is really the only team that won this weekend by a margin, convincingly.
Yeah.
Jacksonville had to fight back, being down 27-0.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
Everybody had a close game.
Everybody had a close game, but San Francisco and Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm playing it more so that everybody but San Fran, which it's understandable why they didn't have a close game. Not knocking on Seattle. It's just when you have all of that talent on one side of the ball against a very depleted defense, I kind of saw a blowout coming, but I also wouldn't have been surprised if Seattle pulled out a win. But I'm going to err on the side of caution with close games. I got to go 27-24 Dallas. I'm going to go 27-24 Dallas.
I mean, it could happen.
But it's a 50-50 toss-up because it also could end 27-24 Tampa. But I'm going to take Dallas with everything in mind. But that's going to wrap up today's episode, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Well, I'm your host, Harrison. It's my co-host.
I'm Mike. And but one more thing. Once we get to 1 million subscribers, whoever is that one lucky person will get a signed autographed jersey.
You heard it here. Signed autographed jersey for our 1 millionth subscriber.
Yep, and we're almost there. Thank you guys for your support.
Thank you guys, and good night.
Good night.